All right, we are live with the most famous porn star that you ever need to know because he is going to teach you how to be a better guy, a better dude, and how to please your girl in the bedroom better and how to have better sexual experiences, which is like a huge deal. Stirling Cooper is here with me today. We're going to talk about how to maximize your sexual power in this one. We're gonna have a nice little conversation for about an hour here. But how are you doing, Sterling?
I'm doing amazing, mate. It's been a long time. Been too long.
Yeah, dude, way too long, man.
Now
I
I'm back
said I
to
miss you,
stateside.
dude. I miss Miami. I got to come to Europe now to come see you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this next year I'll be back. I'll be spending half my time in America, half my time in Europe. So
Nice,
I'll be a lot more, yeah, on ground here.
right?
Had a few things I had to get sorted out in Europe, but we're good now.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's top secret things, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
Let everybody guess what things might be, what might be going on. But well, you're doing you're killing it, man. I see you all over the place. You're putting out great advice on your YouTube channel. If you guys aren't subscribed to Sterling, you're wrong. Everything you put out is good. Like
Thank
I've
you.
audited a lot of your stuff. I've taken a look at it, you know, and I recommend it to my groups. Like I have a coaching group. I have a program I run for guys. It's relatively high ticket item type of a coaching program. It's usually guys work with me for a year because I want to, I'd rather work with guys who are really willing and wanting to do the work to improve, and where I'll have more time with them to see those improvements over a series of months. And I don't just recommend everybody's stuff, you know what I mean, or just or have like financial agreements with people to recommend things, which nothing wrong with that. However, that's not how I operate. It's got to be good and valuable because my guys trust me and my input, and I'm trying to help them improve. And so I'm not going to send them to external sources that I don't know are going to be good. And your stuff's always good. You always put maximum effort and not just effort, but your expertise is delivers such a good product with all of your stuff that you've done. So I just wanted to say that
Thank you.
here.
Appreciate that.
And
Thank you.
so and we have something here. We're not gonna just talk about this the whole time, but I wanted to jump right into it
Oh,
because
cool.
we have a product. This is not a gas station boner pill. I should say. That's what I should say. We have a product that's gonna help your erection health, really, and your overall health. And I like maybe want to I'll add it to the thing. Maybe want to tell me a little bit about that. What
Yeah.
brought you into this arena?
So
Getting into this.
yeah, basically. So this is something I've been working on for like 12 months. I didn't rush into this. This isn't something that just come out of nowhere. I've been kind of silently working on this for a while now, and someone actually mentioned in the chat this is the perfect topic for No Nut November, which is quite apt actually.
Yeah.
Kind of incentivizing you to do the opposite though. I think if you
Yeah. Well, so this is so this has been in the works for a while, and you've talked about nutrition before and how different, we could say, supplements are I hate supplement. The word supplement implies a lot of times like a lot of the pre-workouts where it's like a lot of junk goes in there, and when we talk about supplement, we're not talking about junk pre-workout. Yeah. And so, we're talking about things that'll actually boost and build your health as well as your performance. And I noticed in the ingredients, so that was one thing for this product that I'm endorsing, that you're putting out. It's a male enhancement product. It has got all the nutritional. I take a lot of the things there already. I'm just showing this is my beet juice.
Yep,
So I got a little bit of a,
boom,
yeah. Yeah. Right. So like, these are things that I've been taking and doing for my own, just health and performance. And I've been recommending to guys. You've been recommending to guys too, but now you got it packaged in a product. So
yeah. So basically, that's so ironic. You're actually sitting there drinking beet juice. That's literally one of the main ingredients in this.
Right.
So this is a combination of a few things. So basically, like, to give a bit of a backstory about like how this came about. So when I was still shooting pornography, I came across a bunch of dudes who'd like more, let's say, like veteran performers and stuff, they relied so heavily on like Viagra, for example, right?
Yeah.
If everyone when they have like a boner problem, the first thing they reach for is like Viagra. That's the first thing they go to, right?
Right.
The problem is it's a pharmaceutical drug, and your body will develop a drug resistance to it if you take it consistently, right?
Yeah.
So that I saw older veteran performers that was happening, and so then what they did is that they'd switch from Viagra, they'd move on to this thing called Cavaject, which is a fucking needle that you inject in your cock.
Oh.
With a little liquid in it that's forced as like a 2-hour erection. Terrifying thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually that shit would stop working, and then they have to get like this surgery that would they put a pump in your penis.
I've heard of that. That sounds
I call it
terrifying.
the RoboCock. Yes, horrifying. And I saw that. I'm like, okay, I do not want to go down this path. This is a terrible idea. I don't want to go up here. So yeah. I basically started pulling on my people who might not be aware of it. My background was like an industrial research chemist. So,
which is interesting. I want to ask you more about that after your.
So I do have a pharmaceutical background in a way, and I actually am a published scientist from way back when I was at university.
Love it.
So I know how to dive into the literature. I know how to read a journal article. I know how to sort of dissect these things and find out what's actually fucking working and what's just like placebo effect or hearsay and like doesn't actually have any scientific backing to it. So that's kind of how it was a combination of stuff that I was consistently taking when I was performing and supplements that I heard a bunch of other dudes were taking who were also working in porn at the time, because you need to be like firing on all cylinders. You want the best performance you can possibly get when you're doing that kind of job. So this is a combination of not just, professional experience, but also a scientific study. So that's how I came up with this combination right here. So I'll quickly just run through all the stuff we've got in it.
Let's do it.
Understanding of why it's in there in the first place. Because
it's a good educational thing anyways for guys to understand because there's stuff that's good for you that'll build. I just want to jump in to say there's stuff that is good for you that's going to build your foundational health and ability. Yep. And then there's stuff that will give you, like the gas station boner pill, for example, that'll give you it'll give you a maybe result that evening or short-term result, but after a while it puts you down a pathway of not being able to perform the way you want because you're not building your health and you're not building your strength and stamina from like a inner health perspective, like from a health perspective. You're just sort of pharmaceutically solving a problem. So anyway, let's kind of continue. So even, for guys, it just to know that what these things do as a supplement is hugely valuable.
Absolutely. I'm glad you said that because people think the problem with gas station boner pills are like the little blue pill pharmaceutical drugs that sort of treat this issue of, be it full-blown erectile dysfunction or just like not optimal erection strength.
Right.
The problem is like a Band-Aid, right? So the analogy I always love to use with this stuff is it's like if you're walking around with a pebble in your foot, pebble in your shoe, right? And you've got pain in your foot because you've got a pebble in your shoe, it's like taking an aspirin rather than taking the goddamn shoe off and throwing the pebble away.
Perfect. So that's a great analogy.
Let's treat the root cause of this problem so that it's fixed for good and your overall health is better moving forward and you won't have this problem again.
Yeah.
So, there's three main mechanisms that lead to erectile dysfunction or weaker erections. Those three things are one, like weak arterial health. Yeah. So think arterial plaque, right? People tend to think of arterial plaque in relation to the heart, which is true. That's like cardiovascular disease. But
your other arteries can get plaque too.
Arteries feed your dick, right? They can get arterial plaques, and like heart disease is one of the biggest killers in America for a start. So taking a proactive approach to like preventing that shit is pretty important.
Oh yeah.
So if your arteries aren't like clean, you're not going to be able to get as much blood flow as you want. Yep. 2, we have nitric oxide production. So nitric oxide is what causes your blood vessels to dilate and fill with blood in the first place. So if you don't optimize nitric oxide production, you can't get a full pump, shall we say? Yep. That applies both in the gym and in the bedroom too. Right. And then the third thing we have is a thing called venous leakage. So your venous system is like, think of it like all your arteries have these kind of like locks in them, which basically push the blood in one direction. Right. And when these locks are kind of weak, it causes the blood to go in both directions. And a perfect example of this is actually varicose veins. So when varicose veins happen, it's sort of on the surface of your skin. The blood's flowing in both directions and just sort of sits there in pools, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's when these locks that kind of lock the direction of blood in one direction are kind of weak and compromised. So if we can support the health of these locks, then okay, great. Things are flowing in one direction, and when you're in the bedroom with a young lady, you're at full attention. It's not gonna, it's as much everything that's flowing in is staying there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Those are the three key mechanisms that I work on with all these ingredients. And I'll bring that image up again, just so we can walk. Yeah. I'll share it with you again now. Where is it? This one. So we can kind of like walk through a bit of a tutorial on exactly why, like what each of these things does, right?
Yeah.
So the top left and the two might be the most familiar to a lot of people, L-arginine and L-citrulline. So these two things obviously help with nitric oxide production. L-citrulline actually gets converted to L-arginine in your body, and then your body takes L-arginine and uses it to help produce nitric oxide. The interesting thing, though, there was a study done in Japan where they did a control trial between they gave guys, there was 4 different test groups, right? There was placebo group, did nothing. There was giving guys 2 grams of L-arginine. There was giving guys 2 grams of L-citrulline. And the third group was the most interesting one. They gave guys 1 gram of arginine and 1 gram of citrulline each. And the combination had an exponentially bigger effect than either of these 2 ingredients on their own.
Wow. That makes sense, actually, from a molecular standpoint of what both of those supplements do. I'm very familiar with citrulline and arginine. I only take citrulline, but maybe I want to revisit. Well, I'm just going to take your stuff, really. But like, why would I dick around at the store measuring? I had too much time here that I need to spend on other things, measuring my arginine and citrulline, and then trying to find a horse chestnut, which we'll get into later. Like, I can just take your supplement, not be an idiot. So hopefully everyone's getting the message here that's listening. But but I've been suggesting citrulline because of the because I know that citrulline and arginine are related. They kind of do the same thing. Arginine's a little bit more of a delayed response. So I'm like, well, if you're just taking, 2 to 4 grams of citrulline, you're pretty much good. And I've been pretty good with that, but it does make sense that the combo would make a better difference for the same reason that like whey protein and then casein protein mixture works really well, because you have a fast delivery and then you have a slower delivery over time. And so that's going to, whenever you deliver something quickly, you'll lose some as waste. It won't get used. When you deliver something slow, maybe won't get used as waste, but you don't have that immediate effect either. So like, just kind of like combining proteins, combining these 2 amino acids does make a lot of sense. So that research is really cool.
Yeah. That's the exact same principle that's going on there.
Yeah.
So
nice.
The next one, the horse chestnut extract, this is something that most people have never really heard of or don't really play around with. This is actually used in the treatment of varicose veins. It's been used for forever to treat varicose veins. So this this ingredient is what we use to treat that venous leakage and to fix these valves that are kind of pushing the blood in one direction.
Right.
So horse chestnut extract has been proven time and time again to fix this problem. So basically, and here's a really cool way of like, not so cool, I should say, a really obvious sign that you have this problem. If there's certain sex positions that you struggle to maintain a full erection in, for example, like cowgirl, if you're laying on your back and you get a weaker erection, that's a clear-cut sign of venous leakage.
That makes sense. Yeah, because those locks got little openings, and by laying down, right? It's leaking downward and the erection's going down. That does make sense.
So that's what horse chestnut extract's in there for.
Okay.
The next, vitamin K2 and horny goatweed actually serve a similar purpose. Vitamin K2, and in particular the MK7 variant is what we have in here, is designed for cleaning out your arteries. So basically it'll scavenge calcium deposits, aka arterial plaque, that builds up on your arteries, and it puts it in your bones where that calcium's actually useful. It's not so useful building up on your arterial walls.
Right.
So vitamin K2, the MK7 variant, which we're using here, that's its primary purpose, is to clean out those arteries. And this is not like all this stuff combined will help you like tonight in the bedroom to achieve like stronger results. But more importantly, I've designed this as like a daily supplement you could take.
Right. That's what I like about it.
Overall, like taking this stuff regularly is going to prevent these like any of these problems from ever eventuating in the first place.
Sure.
It's yes, it does have an immediate short-term effect, but long-term, it's even better. That's the kind of the way I want to approach this.
Right. You're building yourself as a stronger, person and as a, stronger sexually, not just performing, but then age-related decline or just health-related decline or bad diet, other things, just eating away at your body. Your body's performing, but on the back end, it's just the foundation's getting eaten away at. And then that's what you run into. Like you mentioned with some of these porn stars, it's like, they're not all like super healthy. You're really healthy. A lot of guys I've talked to are like really healthy guys, who are within that industry, but there are guys that aren't, most guys aren't. And so normal, typical Western American or, European, cheese and freaking bread diet, right? Like it's like your body is eating itself. And yes, you can perform on some pharmaceutical things, but eventually the pharmaceutical things won't work, won't do it. It falls apart. And that especially occurs when guys hit a certain age level too, Yeah.
It's happening more and more prevalent in men under the age of 42. Like 1/4 of the instances of like medical instances of erectile dysfunction are now for dudes under 40. It's a lot more common.
Right.
And that's standard Western diet, sedentary lifestyle.
Well, it goes with obesity and it goes with all those things, but
100%.
yeah, that's what I liked about this being a daily is it builds your body up. And like I mentioned, I didn't know, like I'm being educated on horse chestnut. I had no idea what that did or anything, but like the arginine I've taken before, I take citrulline now, but I'm just going to take your supplement, to be honest. The vitamin, seriously, the vitamin K I take, K2, and that variant I do take on a daily with vitamin D as part of my daily stuff.
Perfect.
It's hugely valuable and the beetroot and all that stuff, but we'll get into, so in the horny goat weed I've taken before just because it was interesting to take at different times, but what does that do specifically that's like different than, let's say, some other things somebody might take to?
Well, so the key active ingredient in horny goat weed is actually a thing called icarin, which does a very, very similar thing to vitamin K2. So it's just another mechanism there for helping clean out arteries.
Nice.
Also, there has been a lot of studies supporting horny goat weed in like improving men's like erectile response. There is a second mechanism going on there, but the primary reason I put it in here was for the icarin response, again, for cleaning out your arteries and improving arterial health. So we've got two different ingredients doing the same thing to try and really, really optimize the health of those arteries, basically.
Yeah.
And then moving on, beetroot extract, which you're drinking right now.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, I just drink it like all the time. But I mean, having it I don't drink it every day necessarily. So having it in a supplement would be good. Especially good too when I do things like I still do stuff with the military, like gone for a few weeks out in the field. Like I can pack a supplement in a rucksack. I'm not packing powders of citrulline and I mean, I might take some vitamin K. I did take my K and D with me, but like all of these things, all these ingredients, I'm not going to have a kitchen with me, so for guys who travel and stuff like that, I mean, just make your life easier. You know what I mean? Throw a supplement that covers it in a bag and go. But anyway,
the key role of the beetroot extract here, and this is something people don't really talk about either. When it comes to like, okay, we understand now that nitric oxide is important because nitric oxide is what causes the blood vessels to dilate and engorge with blood, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, your body can't even produce nitric oxide if it doesn't have nitrates.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nitrates are the building block of nitric oxide. Beetroot is probably the best source you can get of dietary source of nitrates available. So we put beetroot extract in there to make sure your body actually has the nitrates to begin with, because most people don't have that in their diet at all.
Right.
So your body's going to be lacking the nitrates necessary to even produce nitric oxide in the first place. This is also the reason why sometimes when dudes take the little blue pill, it doesn't really do shit. Because
that's a good point. I've heard that
it's going to pump out a bunch of nitric oxide, but if your body ain't got nitrates to begin with, it can't do anything.
Do it. Right. Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
That's the purpose of the beetroot extract in there.
Right. And the beetroot was I was taking it just for circulation for those reasons. I'm learning about what you're saying about the nitrates. I never thought about that. I mean, I know about it, but I never really thought of it in context of what you're saying. So I'm learning a lot here on this show. This is great.
Awesome.
Yeah. But I took it because beetroot takes down swelling. It helps for the negative swelling, although we want our dick to swell at the right time, but we're talking inflammation in the body is bad in the body and stuff like that, and it can tear the body down. So it's good for inflammation, but it's also good for this. That's nice to know.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then the last one we got here is pomegranate extract. Anyone who's followed me for a while knows I rave about pomegranate juice all the time. Big proponent of it. And so that's what the pomegranate has a couple of really interesting different mechanisms. So one is a minor source of nitrates. Not a major one like beetroot, but it's a minor source of nitrate, so it's adding to that effect. 2, it helps improve nitric oxide production. That's nice. It's been clinically studied again and again. And 3, again, it also helps with scavenging arterial plaques in arteries as well. So pomegranate is just I love it all around.
Yeah,
It helps assist with a couple of these different mechanisms as well.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. Well, and I mean, this is something you've been talking about. You've talked about these supplements in, most of them anyway, in different publications, different things. You've been talking about these things for a while, and now you were able to create something that can deliver all of them in a neat package and in the right doses too, which is really cool. And I want to mention that because there's just so much integrity in what you do and the products that you put out, whether it's a coaching product or in this case, a supplement, because, this is not something that you said, what, I'm a sex coach guy. I'm going to throw out some boner pills. That'll make me some cash. That's not exactly how it worked. You've been talking about this for a while.
I've been approached to do that a lot.
Yep. Oh, I get it. I'm not even as cool as you, and I've been approached to do shit that I won't do because it's just it lacks integrity, on the mindset side of it. It's like, oh, we should promote this or do this. And I'm like, well, I don't think that fucking does anything. So I'm not going to do it, and right. I need to know that something I put out is going to help the end user and over deliver. That's the thing. I don't want to just deliver a promise. I want to over deliver on that promise. I mean, that is the key to success, in my opinion. That's why I've been able to be mildly successful with other things. I'm not a good marketer. I'm not good at these other things, but I'm relatively successful because I over deliver. And you're one that does too, man. You over deliver big time. And so I was pretty excited to see this product out there. Yeah. But
that's to give guys a little bit more kind of information. So this week's our launch week, basically, and we're running a massive discount on this up until the 8th, midnight on Wednesday, 8th of November. That's when so you can save anywhere, depending upon how much you order, you can subscribe and save and that sort of stuff. Anywhere from 40 to 60% you can save on the retail price in this particular week. So
nice. Well, I'll put the link here right now in the chat. I have it in the show notes, but I'm gonna as well. But so guys, so you want to take advantage of that discount. Now this link here is going to take you to the link because YouTube because it says sex on the page and has Stirling going sex or whatever. It's YouTube might try to censor things, so this will take you to a landing page that'll take you to the actual page and you can order your stuff. But
exactly, just one more click. That's all. You just have one more click.
One more click. Don't be lazy. It's your dick health here, right? But
dick health, your heart health. It's all this.
Yeah, well, and it's your whole body, and that's the other part too. I mean, if your body, this is going to help your overall health. All of these supplements are things that are going to be good for your body. And I've been more interested, as one would think, being in my age. I'm 45 going on 46, and I have a beautiful girlfriend that is 20 years younger than me, you know what I mean? And so I'm living the life that people want, and you have to, of course, be the guy to be able to have that. You have to actually have the value there, and that includes it includes sexual value, man. Like if you, I, I forget how important sometimes, just because it's just a part of my life, but I forget how important it is to have sexual power in your relationship. Sometimes, it is so important. The difference between a girl, you know, wanting to try hard in the relationship, wanting to show up and be that girl that you want her to be, wanting to show up and be a better person even for herself, like all of these things, following your frame, following your lead, all the things that guys talk about that they want. The difference between her doing that and not doing that is night and day when your sexual power is up. Like when you are sexually powerful and she's experiencing high intense experiences in the bedroom, her emotional buy-in to want to be everything you've ever wanted her to be is so much higher than if it's even just average sort of sex. You know what I mean? It's so
Absolutely.
important. Yeah.
There's another thing I'll add in there too, and that's so there's I see this argument a lot on Twitter where guys will say that the female orgasm doesn't matter because it doesn't matter because it's not really linked to like reproduction. So okay, like we don't need women to come back.
By the way, that's not. I can actually, from an evolutionary psychology perspective, from research in the last 10 years, say that that's not true. But it's funny though that the guys who don't get the girls say that. So, right. So you were saying, sorry.
Well, the point I was going to make was, well, the big, in my opinion, the biggest reason behind the female orgasm is actually linked to oxytocin release.
Yes.
And what people don't really, most guys that don't understand is like, okay, when a woman orgasms, she gets bombarded with all this oxytocin, and oxytocin is what helps, really assists in the pair bonding.
Yes.
It assists in her literally falling in love with you. Now, she can get that oxytocin through like everyday activities and things. She can still get it from there. But the orgasm is going to like supercharge that shit. And that's why everything you just said, when you have that really amazing sexual chemistry and sexual experience with a woman, you're literally priming her to pair bond with you. And you're bringing out the best version of her.
100%
for that relationship. It's amazing. It's fantastic. It's a beautiful thing. And I think like neglecting it and thinking it's not that big a deal, you're kind of missing out. You're missing out on having an amazing experience with that woman.
Right. Well, and guys who do that really are just, and I talk about this a lot on my channel and platforms here, is the ego protection that guys will do. And so that's what a lot of it is, and it's guys will go to great lengths to protect their egos especially when it comes to things that are what I've been termed existential threats, like a threat to your existence as a person. And so guys, it's funny, like in like red pill spaces, they'll talk about how women have the hamster and the hamster wheel in their head, and that they'll have this delusional behavior. But it's like, well, dudes do it in a different way. Like dudes do it too when it comes down to ego protection. Like guys, every guy thinks they can fight. Every guy thinks that they're good in bed. Every guy and it's like, but you're probably not, and so to be able to face, I'm not the best at these things. I have shortcomings here. There are things I need to improve on or should improve on to make myself better. And it's funny because it's only like this much work to be this much better because guys' ego protects so much. They don't even pay attention to it. Like a little bit of training in a decent combatives or martial art program will make you like this much better than most people like on the street who have no training. Just a little bit. 3 months of boxing, like a little bit. And it's because but guys won't do it because they protect their egos. The reason why is there's an existential threat of being dominated by other men and being taken over and being destroyed or killed or murdered. So they won't face that fact that they have a shortcoming. They won't go to that boxing or jiu-jitsu class and get wrecked by some mid-level amateur because he's just a little bit more trained and go, oh shit, like I need to do some things to train. And then same sexually, like they think that showing up and doing they learn up, down, left, right, A, B, All right.
Great
And it
job.
got one girl to say, make some noise, you know, back in high school. And then now they're every other girl, they're like up, down, left, right, A, B. Like, I'm going to do the same like dance moves that worked, you know, because and they get maybe get some results or whatever. And they think, oh, well, I'm good. Well, no, I mean, sex is very complex. People are complex sexually, women especially, with what works for them. And if you can't create an intense experience for them, you're just not going to have the emotional buy-in to have a good relationship. I mean, that is the reality of it. We talk about alpha widowing, talk about hypergamy. The ultimate representation of being her best isn't necessarily your bank account, isn't necessarily how tough you are. It's the existential experience she's having in the bedroom. When she's having this experience in the bedroom, her primal brain is receiving those messages that this is the guy that I want to have babies with, mate with, dedicate my life to, or not so much. And that's happening on a deep level, way down into her mammalian brain during that sexual experience. And so her orgasms are absolutely important for bonding. It releases all of the bonding chemicals. Research shows too, important for those that want to have families. It's important for pregnancy too. Actually, there's a whole thing on that. I've talked about that. But yeah, so these are really important things. They're not to be ignored. And yeah, anyway, I'm just talking a lot, but yeah.
I agree with that. It's interesting you talked about like combat sports and stuff, because I did my first ever like amateur fight.
I saw that. I was so proud of you. Yeah. I was like, hell yeah.
Thank you.
Beat some ass. Yeah.
And that was like an intense. I mean, I'd only really started dabbling in boxing like maybe 12 months before that. But that's very, very occasionally just doing pads with.
I love boxing so much too. Yeah.
But preparing to this fight was a 2-month intensive boot camp out in Spain. That's why I kind of bounced out there.
Cool.
And that was just, mate, that was like every day. Like, I hate sparring. I fucking hate sparring. Like, just like, let me emphasize how much I do not enjoy it. But
way
pushing myself, forcing myself to do it. Like, we're sparring like at least 3 times a week for like 2 months straight. And you get put in the ring because I'm the one who's going for a fight. I'm the one who's in the hot seat who has to like spar everybody exhausted, and everyone else gets to like refresh.
Yes, right. You're getting pushed because you're fight prep, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
But man, I am so grateful for that experience, because
for sure.
I'm not going to sit here and lie. I was scared, bro. I'm like, and rightfully so. If I wasn't scared, I'd be kind of retarded or psychopathic. But
of course, of course.
Haven't had a professional fight. No, not professional fight. Haven't stepped in a ring before for a fight. I've got all this. Not to mention the fact that I've got more to lose than the amateur guy I'm fighting against, because I've got like a fucking brand, and I've got like, if I get my ass kicked, that's going everywhere on the internet. Like, there's a lot of stakes there, right? So yeah, but that's like the opposite of, if I could have tried to protect my ego and been like, nah, I don't need to do this. It's not important. Blah 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 blah. No, it is. Yeah. I know that when I have kids, when I have a son, first thing I'm going to teach, like, bro, you need to fucking learn how to fight. You're going to get in the boxing gym. You're going to get a jiu-jitsu gym or a wrecking class or whatever.
Yeah.
You're going to have to learn to push through this comfort zone, because that's super important. And I actually did it. And recently, maybe it was about 3 weeks ago, I did my first ever Brazilian jiu-jitsu class, actually.
Oh, okay. I love jiu-jitsu too, man. I'm not the best at it. Like I'm a blue belt, and I maybe can hang with like a lot of purple belts because the school I was at was. I'm no black belt in jiu-jitsu. Let me just say, we put it just, if I can't like freak out and start punching, I'm black belt's gonna just kick my ass. Brown belt, purple belts, like, you know what I mean, just raw. And there's nothing like having a guy half your size just like, fuck. It's a humbling experience.
That was the experience I had, because I walked in that gym. I'm a relatively big guy. I look kind of, I'm pretty strong. And that was my buddy, actually, Yilmaz. He's one of the best wrestlers in all of Germany, actually. Dagestani guy.
Nice.
Very impressive.
Wrestlers are tough, man. Super conditioned.
Super tough. Yeah. And I got practicing with everyone in that class. Like, it's all these like, dudes who are smaller than me, dudes who are like, obviously amateur or whatever. and then just like schooling me. And I'm like, okay, the learning curve. There's a lot to learn here, but it's super humbling. Trying to like understanding the mechanics, like the chess of like jiu-jitsu and what you can do with the body, and like understanding like how to defend and all this stuff. But it's a humbling experience, and it's a good humbling experience because like you don't want to try and protect that ego all the time. You need to you let it get smashed every now and then. Back into reality.
Yeah, it's good to face. Well, because when you learn to face that, you can become a bit more outcome independent about facing your own existence being wiped out. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm coming from a combat, perspective too. I've done a lot of combat, and when you know that, you're about to go in a situation, you might, your existence might be wiped off of the planet. And some of my stuff, my existence would have been wiped off to the point where the news story or report of how I got whacked wouldn't even be how I got whacked because of the nature of what I was doing. It would be like, if I came up missing, it would be that they would know what happened and you guys wouldn't. We'll put it like that. And so talk about it, right? Talk about having your existence wiped up. Your legacy even is gone. And so, having to face that puts you at a level of outcome independence and handling of anxiety, threats, fears, anything. Like facing the possibility of losing money or the possibility of things going wrong in my relationship or my business is like nothing.
Yep.
It's like that is not, those are things I don't want, obviously, but they're not, you don't succumb to those fears, threats, anxiety, and then start making bad decisions and doing behaviors and avoidance behaviors rather than facing problems when you know how to face those threats. And just getting in the ring, you don't have to go to combat, but just getting in the ring like you experienced is a huge thing. Yeah. It's a huge thing because it teaches you how to overcome those threats. Being not that guys should all necessarily go into the sex industry, but what you did though, cause you to face a major thing for guys. Like guys have, you can have honest conversations about sex where most guys cannot.
Yes.
Most guys ego protect like hell. And it's funny. It's like probably like you and so some of these sex conversations with guys is probably like me and some of these combat conversations where you're just like sitting there having to suspend reality while you listen to this person talk because like 50% of what they say is kind of protecting their ego kind of bullshit. You're like, okay, but you
tell instantly if a guy's full of shit.
Right. But you also know it's not necessarily coming from a bad place or any of these things. It's just the ego protection. And I'll tell you, man, I think that a superpower for men is to not have that, is to learn how to overcome that ego protection and face problems, face things. Even guys who are listening right now, back to bring it back to the sex stuff, guys who are listening right now, it's like you might be doing all right sexually and having good times or whatever. That's cool. But there's things you don't know. And it's an important part of your relationship, important part of your life. And it's an important part of your health. Like there's stuff you don't even realize with health that we're addressing here, talking about, the aspects of artery plaquing, things like that, things that, that's beyond a normal fitness conversation. And, these things directly correlate to your success and your power and your well-being. By the time people are my age, it's like 40 to 50% of men have erectile dysfunction to some degree. By the time they're between 45 and 50, by the time they're 70, it's something like, I think it's like 70% of men have erectile dysfunction, and they don't need to have it. No. Because if you just took the right, if you have the right nutrition and the right behaviors, you can have like the erections of a 20-year-old when you're 70, 80 years old. And there's plenty of guys who do that. But you got to take care of yourself. You got to take care of your health. And that's what the supplement does. It shortcuts that. These guys don't have to become research scientists like yourself and try to vet through all the bullshit and measure out different things. They got it packaged,
That's it. We're trying to like fill the gaps, right? Where the average guy might be lacking in his nutrition, in his supplementation. If we can just plug these few little gaps, everything's going to be like functioning properly like it should be, basically.
Yeah. No, I love it. So I wanted to circle back to like Viagra and Cialis, because a lot of guys will be like, why don't I just take Viagra, or why don't I just take Cialis? And I know the answer as to why. But what would you say to those who would ask that question?
Yeah. So there's a couple of answers to that question. One, it's like I consider those things to be more of a band-aid solution than an actual like you're then fixing the underlying issue. Two, especially Viagra has some pretty annoying side effects. Like you'll get mad headaches, you'll get sinus blockage. I mean, I'm actually sick right now. That's why I said a bit nasally. I haven't just popped a blue pill, just for clarification. But that's a really annoying like side effect. And these are pharmaceutical drugs, and your body can develop a drug resistance to them. Like
yes,
so you'll need if you take them too much, you'll need twice as much dose to have the same amount of effect. And that's just a cascading like negative spiral. And eventually you become dependent on these things rather than having like your body working as it's supposed to work, because all of the right nutrients, all the right like molecules and chemicals in your body are where they need to be and they're functioning correctly. So your body's optimized, right?
Yeah.
It's a very, very different situation to like using a pharmaceutical Band-Aid to fix that.
100%. And I'll add to that too, a little bit of information. I don't know how well we probably know all about these things, but so a lot of times when guys like TRT, right, do start getting into TRT, it's recommended that they do like a small dose of Cialis. So we're talking like 3 to 5 milligrams, which is not what's usually and it's a daily dose. It's not usually what's prescribed for erectile dysfunction. It's a small dose that is designed to clean out the arteries, designed to, be a vasodilator, designed to, keep that circulation going, because that plus taking regular blood tests and having blood draws sometimes, because one of the consequences of testosterone therapy could be thick blood. And so thick blood and blood cells and stuff like that. So they got to, do a blood donation, every 90 days or so. It's recommended. And then taking, especially for the older gentlemen, because over time arterial plaquing and stuff like that can build, taking that small dose of Cialis is a recommendation. Now, on the one hand, it's a good recommendation because, okay, there is actually no, if you're taking it for that purposes and not for boners, there's no long-term consequence to 5 milligrams of Cialis. As far as we know, It's not bad for you. But here's the thing, though. You're not getting the benefit of the arterial locking. You're not getting the benefits of all of these other things that your supplement would provide, which is why if somebody is doing that, the recommendation that they forget about is also to have a healthy lifestyle of exercise, of getting and nutrition. And the nutrition would be a lot of the things that you're already looking at and providing in a supplement. Things like to bring down, for general health, bring down swelling, things to, help with blood circulation, blood flow, to help eliminate sort of like plaquing, all of these things that, that your supplement's designed to do. That is actually the recommendation that people forget about when they take low dose Cialis. So what ends up happening is guys take low dose Cialis and they're still, they're doing Burger King once a week. They're doing, they're doing okay. They got their diet, but then they're like, yeah, maybe I'll have a pizza tonight. That's fine. Whatever. They're not doing like red and purple and leafy vegetables. They're not doing other things in their diet. They're not doing a combination of things.
Yep.
So their health is still deteriorating, even though they have healthy testosterone that they're now injecting, even though they got good blood flow today, their health is still deteriorating in these other areas. And so there ends up being a long-term effect of maybe by the time they're my age, if depending on when they started their TRT, maybe by the time they're 55, 60, all of a sudden those things will start catching up. Yep. Now, for some reason, they're only getting 70% of an erection because of arterial plaquing, even though they took the small dose of Cialis, right? And so then it like brings you to the idea of, well, instead of a small dose of Cialis, you're going to have to do all these nutritional things anyways. why don't you just take what happens if you do all these nutritional things? Well, then you don't need the Cialis, because the effects of all these nutritional things is the same effect that little bit of Cialis is supposed to give you. So even in the case of positive use of something like Cialis, which I think that's a positive use, even in the case of we're not talking about overdoing erectile dysfunction drugs or whatever, it's actually something you won't need if you're doing all of this other stuff and you're taking care of the foundation and health.
Yeah, exactly. And you're probably likely to, like you said, you're probably likely to start to neglect these things.
Yes.
Because this becomes like almost like a crutch to a degree.
Right. It becomes the Band-Aid. It becomes a crutch.
Yeah. And so it's like, oh, I don't have to worry about these things now because I've got this pill over here.
Right.
Oh, no. Yep. Like you said, it'll catch up to you eventually. Like you got to pay the piper one day.
Yep. Exactly. And so instead of, I mean, a guy who is on TRT could literally just do the supplement, do the nutritional recommendations. And I would say even get their blood drawn before and get their blood drawn 90 days after. Mm-hmm. They're going to see a better blood profile, and they're going to see and experience all the effects, the positive effects of taking a small amount of Cialis, but without having to take Cialis, and having it come organically from their body, through nutrition. And so, like, what does that mean? That means, like, let's say they forget their supplement and they take a flight somewhere, and they're taking some girl someplace nice, and they want to, smash the whole weekend, right? Of course, and go do fun things. And holy shit, I left my supplement on in my bathroom, and now here I am. What do I do? Guess what? Nothing. You're fine. Yeah. Like 3 days a week when you've been building this up, your stuff is still going to work as it always did for a while. Obviously, you get back to your nutritional regimen when you get home. It's not a big deal. What happens when that guy's missing is 5 milligrams of Cialis. Yeah. Even if he's going to be all right because he's not declined on internally, like on the back end health wise, the anxiety he's going to have for not having that Cialis with them is probably going to ruin his trip.
Yeah. Because he's using it as like a mental crutch then as well.
Right. And that's what I found. And you probably found that too. We both coach guys, in different capacities. And a lot of guys who get on this, because it does work and it is that Band-Aid effect, it becomes a crutch now. Yep. And now it's like, well, what if I don't have my stuff? Or what? This girl wants to go home with me. I left my pills at home. Yeah. I'll take your phone number down and we'll talk later. Yeah. So
that window closes real quick.
The window's closed now. Forget it. And so yeah, man, I just wanted to point that out because a lot of people don't, we can all look at, action consequence, but a lot of people don't think about secondary and third effects of your behaviors and secondary and third and fourth consequences later of things that happen. Those are just as important, And so, I mean, getting on a regimen of just this is a preventative as well as an immediate solution. I mean, if you take this stuff, if a guy's going on a date and he takes wood, which is your product, he's going to smash, right? Like he's going to be fine that night as if he's going to be his most powerful sexual self. But if he's also taking it as a daily therapy, as a daily supplement, like you would take your normal multivitamin and everything else, he's going to build that sexual power and that health and that internal fitness, the thing that doesn't just show up on the body in terms of body fat percentages and size of your biceps. What's on the inside that's going to make you strong and healthy which is what you need for performing in the bedroom. Absolutely. So, yeah. So yeah, man. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited that you came out with this. What I was going to ask, let's go into some if you have a little bit of time, I have 5-10 minutes here. Yeah, let's go in. So we got a little super chat here. What's with this guy? If you guys got super chats or questions, Sterling's a man. He's a busy guy. He's doing all the stuff. Throw a question, throw a super in here. So, it's a chance. It's an opportunity for you. Paul and Sterling, give some advice on how to maintain erection ability when men get older. 25, keep it going. Well, we are. We have the whole show.
We have talked about that quite extensively. I mean, we'll add to that. Obviously, if you completely neglect your to do any exercise and you eat absolute crap, like you're gonna be it's like you're gonna be pushing a boulder up a hill. You're going to be fighting a losing battle in a lot of ways. If you're proactively doing what's going to be damaging you, well, then you're going to have to work a lot, right? So it's obviously still maintaining a healthy exercise regime, still eating better, drinking water, heaven forbid, actually water. These really basic things that anyone and everyone should be doing anyway. But these have it's a compounding effect the older you get. You're 20, he's 25 now. You're good now, and cool. Hopefully, you develop some really, really good, healthy habits now that will stick with you throughout your entire life. Because if they do, then you're never going to have any problems with basically anything in regards to your health. It's when people start to get lax, get lazy. And I'm guilty of this too. You prioritize business over health. And
dude, that happens to me now sometimes.
Yeah, sure. You get busy. Okay, fine. That's when things like good supplementation come in. That's when things learning being a bit more deliberate and optimized with your workout regime comes into play, just so you can get the best bang for your buck in the smallest amount of time, so you can get back to the grind, get back to work, and get back to building your business or whatever. But these things compound over the years. Yeah,
no, they do. And I mean, I'll say, I have pretty decent, genetics are a factor. I got pretty decent genetics and everything, but I mean, I took care of myself for most of my life, and I'm paying more attention to it now. I mean, so, when I was younger, I was a low level competitive fighter, nothing serious to brag or to write home about, but I had my few MMA fights. I was in the kickboxing and boxing scene a little bit. Right. And then I joined military, and I just kind of kept it going with that. Right. So I have a martial art background, but I actually was at JSOC training people. This is kind of a big deal. And then taking doing training there a lot when I was down at Fort Bragg. So I have a pretty extensive background there, which kept me healthy, because you don't want to get your ass beat. So you kind of it kind of causes you to keep your cardio up and do some things. And I was just fortunate when I was younger, especially as a teenager, and this is for the dads out there, I didn't take my first drink of alcohol. Well, let me rephrase. When I was 13, I tried it, okay, cool. I tried one swig of it, but then that was, I didn't actually drink. I didn't go to the parties. I didn't do that stuff until I could do so legally in Canada at 19. So, and that was a big deal for my overall health and well-being as I was growing, to not damage my body during those formative years. But I never took recreational drugs or anything like that. I don't even drink anymore. So that would be fun. I don't know if interesting. Cause when we were in Miami, Sterling's I don't drink. And I'm like, well, come on, man, have a whiskey. I'm an idiot. Right. And then but since I'm older now, I'm on the decline. I'm I'm dying now. Right. Slowly between now and 100 years old, I'm not slowly dying. Whereas up to 43, 44, I was still a little bit on the incline, where you could drink and not notice effects. And I started to notice age-related effects and stuff with partying and drink. So I eliminated alcohol, something you're not going to notice in your 30s, but I noticed in my 40s, and I just eliminated it. Not, and there's a number of reasons for it. And I've never felt better. I've never felt healthier, never felt better. And so my point is just these things you do, even though I was in the most elite areas of the military in terms of fitness. I was the top 1% of the world in terms of fitness level. I'm not there now, but I'm pretty fit even when I get busy and miss my workouts throughout the week because of the business and things I'm trying to scale and do. And I'm able to make my baseline of fitness. I took a fitness test for the military, and I was just shy of 600 points on the thing, and I don't even train for it. Now I felt it for like 3 or 4 days later, whereas I used to not feel it because I'm not working out like I used to. And that'll change. I'll get back into it at some point. But my point is, like, that didn't happen because I'm so cool or magical or anything. I'm no different than anybody else. It's because over time, I did the behaviors that were good for my body and you know, we're building this foundation. And so then like later, you know, like something, you get busy with business, you're not working out as much, or this happens, that happens, right? Or whatever, or you're getting older, or some of these things happen, like your decline or your, you know, your benchmark is so much higher than it was before. So my point is, these guys, everyone thinks in our society short term, like, whoa, I'm out of shape and I'm lazy, I need to get myself in shape in the next 60 days, which is, by the way, fine. Nothing wrong with kicking yourself in the ass and trying to get in shape for 60 days. But they don't think about sustained behaviors that they need to build a lifestyle off of and keep doing. And that's what's going to give you long-term effects and long-term success. And that's really with anything, you know? And so I'm coming back to the supplement. It's a long roundabout to come back to it, but having good nutritional habits and having a good supplement system, because we have modern science now that makes a lot of biohacking and shortcuts. Like we have so much available to us to build a good, healthy foundation in our bodies through supplementation, through, you know, biohacks and different things. Well, to not use them is like crazy, you know? So like building a good system for yourself for exercise, for sleep, and for good habits and getting sunlight, and then also having good nutrition and also supplementing on the stuff that you know is going to be good for your health. And this is what's going to get you the long-term effects. And most people that actually, you know, come to my channel, I don't have hundreds of thousands of subscribers yet, but who are just watching my shorts where I dunk on somebody or whatever, and that's the only reason they're there. I mean, I got like 19,000 people here, but you know, the few thousand people that'll see this video, they're all people who are really a higher percentage are very interested in helping themselves for the long haul. And so this is a really good audience. I'm happy to have this audience. And as we're talking here, I just want to impose on that point. It's so important that you do the right things over time, you know, and your supplement was cool because it wasn't just a gas station boner pill. When I looked at it wasn't just oh, hey, make your dick hard today. Like, you know, you smash that girl that you've always liked, blah, blah, blah. Right. This is like, no. You take this over time, put it in your normal regimen instead of having to try to buy bulk supplements, measure things out yourself, put it in normal regimen. And what's going to happen is you're going to build yourself and build your body over time. You take this for 3 months, you take this for 6 months, you're going to be sexually powerful in ways that you didn't even realize. You have a lot more, and your experience for yourself in the bedroom is going to be better, not just the girls. So yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited about this thing. Just jump in here. Sarah says, you know, she's watching our content, following advice, made her 20-year marriage the best it's ever been. So there's a good endorsement. Fangirl over here while you talk about dick health. Absolutely. It's important for your partner. Right.
Think about it this way. For every guy that we help, like sexually, we're at least helping one woman, if not more. At least. Right? Yeah. If you think about it.
For sure.
It's either his wife or his girlfriend, or if he's casually dating, okay, that's one plus several others. So we're helping, technically we're helping more women than we're helping men, if you think about it that way.
Oh yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. That's the thing, whenever we help a dude, you know, some lucky girl or a series of lucky girls is also getting the benefits of that.
Yep.
And that's the other part of it, you know? So I don't see a bunch of other, questions I want to answer, but I wonder if there's, I feel like I had something I wanted to ask you, but I can't remember what it was. Maybe it'll come back to me, but got any closing statements or thoughts? That's a good one.
No, I mean, I like that we've emphasized like the long-term ramifications of having these holes in your nutrition plugged up.
Yes.
Because it's something like Yeah, yes, we do it like we said before, like a quarter of dudes of the age. Sorry, a quarter of erectile dysfunction cases are dudes under 40. So yes, if you're having this problem at a young age, actually, this is something we haven't even mentioned yet. If you're having this problem at all, it's a warning sign that you have problems. Like it's like an underlying health condition, really,
Yeah.
that indicates you might have like cardiovascular disease. You might be suffering from diabetes or obesity. Like that, you might have a prescription drug problem, as in like it's a side effect of something your doctor prescribed you, right?
Right.
It's consider like an early warning sign and kind of a blessing. Like, oh shit, it happened down here, so I know there's something else going wrong. We need to fix this like immediately. And that's a big part of the way I designed this was to like fix the underlying health condition that's causing the problem in the first place.
Yeah.
Rather than being just as Band-Aid, because if you're having the problem at all, then you know there's an underlying health condition.
Yep. No, that's that's a good point and a good closing statement. I think that's a good place to leave it here. You know, I mean, I think that this is so important and it's something that guys don't want to talk about. It's interesting. No. I always found it interesting. And I'm not like, I mean, I'm on rule 0 for God's sake. So I'm obviously not critical of like red pill or whatever. It's just red pill is such a broad, you know, it is like so broad. You got like, you know, so many people that use the term and what does it actually mean? It kind of,
it gets to a point because so many people come in and kind of take the term and run with it in different directions. It kind of just has diluted the original meaning of it.
Right. So yeah. And it's like, according to who, when you say red pill, but you know, I will say though, even manosphere in general, I want to talk about manosphere, another term, right? But like one thing that it's not more commonly talked about is bedroom stuff. And I found that interesting. There's all these strategies and all these things that people will talk about to try to not get in trouble with women, not, you know, to vet women, to have better relationships with women, all this stuff, all the strategies that are out there from pickup to relationship management. And sex is not talked about as often as I would think it would be when it's such an integral part of the relationship strategy. It's like such a huge thing. And so it's just good to have guys like yourself, you know, having that information, promoting it. I do too, in a different way. I talk about sexual psychology a lot, you know.
Yeah, and that's why I love having conversations with you, Paul, because you understand the fundamental sexual psychology behind a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
It's really like I've been on your I've seen, you know, your material like behind the paywall and stuff. Like, you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thank you. That's a high endorsement from you, you know. Well, that's what got me involved in all this shit anyway, was I kind of, you know, I wanted to bang when I was younger and I was really bad with girls. And then like I just flipped that around. That was like a 180 flip somewhere between 19 and 21. But my first girl when I was 19 was a good experience, but also an interesting one because she was super toxic. And, you know, it ended like badly with her, like, and I knew it would, you know, so I wasn't emotionally invested in the thing. Like, I knew she was going to like bang a bunch of my friends and like freak out, which is exactly what happened. So I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. It was a fun run for 2 months, you know, now time to find a different girl. I wasn't upset about it, but I remember thinking to myself, as badly as I had crushed on girls like a moron when I was younger, girls that I never had sex with, was absolutely crushing on them. I knew I had this capacity to like really get into a girl and like fall for a girl. And my thought, you know, it was keeping every mind. It was 19, everybody. So leave me alone. But, you know, it was I remember thinking to myself, if I was sexually involved with one of those girls and then they turned around and like banged my friends or cheated or did something, you know, and I would be scarred for life. Like, I would be fucked. And so that what I came to the conclusion at that age was like, I like sex. I enjoy it. I'm never going to have sex be the reason a girl does some crazy shit. It could be anything else, but it's not going to be because of sex. I'll know at least that as far as my sexual abilities, sexual power is concerned, I'll have that part covered because that's an integral part I feel like to a man's self-esteem, no matter what kind of mind work he does, knowing that, okay, like you are valuable sexually boils down to, again, that existential, aspect of reproduction. Our biggest drive is knowing that we have reproductive value, and which translates directly to sexual value. And so like, that was what got me into everything, learning about anything. That's what got me into psychology in general and getting degrees. It was my interest in sex. And I was looking back then, you had to go to, look shit up, go to the library and try to find weird, bookstores. And there's a place called Noir Leather in Michigan where they had doms come in and do fucking, like workshops. And I'd go to like a workshop and try to figure this shit out. I wasn't in any scene, wasn't any fet life, but I mean, it started off then learning about, how to be a dom more or less and how to show up that way. And the psychology behind sexual polarity was a big thing. And then sex in general. And, a lot of it was filtered through the tantric world and a lot of woo yoga kind of thinking. But behind that was a lot of science-based things on how to increase your sexual power. And that's what got me into all this stuff with sex. And I think it's so important because I can talk about frame and my experiences, and I've had great experiences. But if it wasn't for the sex piece, those experiences wouldn't have been the same. If it wasn't for the fact that I could perform well for the girl that I was with and for myself and create these really good and intense experiences, I wouldn't be able, I probably wouldn't even have the relationship I have now. I know it, not that she's in a covert contract with me over sex or something. Like, that's not the only reason she's here. However, that's a big reason. There's everything else falls apart. Like, she's coming to me for that. You know what I mean? She's not going to a guy even in her own age category because of the experiences that we have together and the intense experiences. You can't do that if your health's not good. You can't do that if you're not proactively doing things to take care of your dick health and your performance and doing the right things. And so, yeah, man, it's so important. It's not talked about enough. And you're a saint and a gentleman for talking about them and bringing stuff to men that'll help them, dude. So I really, really appreciate it. And I think everyone else does too.
Thank you. I appreciate that too.
Thank you so much. All right, brother. Well, I think we can close. I think it's a good place to close. I put the links in the chat a few times. We got a link in the show notes. So
I've seen a question a couple of times from Ricardo here. He says, do you ship to Portugal? Yes, we ship this ships internationally. So
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, that's a good catch there. Yeah, so give it a shot. And thank you. I'm going to give it a shot too. So I'll probably be one of your first customers and I'll do a review in 30 days. I'll show the pictures of, all of my dead victims of women from our sex escapades and be like, see what happened? They couldn't hang because of this, whatever. But it's I'm excited about it though, and I can already tell it's going to be a good thing, even though I haven't tried it, because the nutritional profile works, everything adds up, and I know you put out good stuff. So hit that link, guys, and thanks again, Stirling, for coming on, and we'll catch you next time, man.
Thank you, lads.